the heart of Virginia, there's a stretch of pavement that has ingrained itself in American racing history. Built in 1957 with just a bulldozer and a plot of land, Virginia International Raceway has become an icon. Over the years since its reopening in 2000, it has hosted IMSA, the American Le Mans Series, NASCAR, SCCA, and Champ Car races. Legends have raced there, including Roger Penske, Mark Donohue, Richard Petty, Hurley Haywood, Dan Gurney, and more. Between turns 11 and 12 stood a defying feature, an old oak tree. This tree stood untouched, shading the south end of the course for decades. For some, oak tree became a symbol of VIR and a reminder of how road courses used to be built. They used to be built with the lay of the land, following each contour and moving around obstacles, not through them. Earth may have been moved, but not tarnished. Oak tree was a lasting memory of when tracks were not just built, they came to be, like the tree. Although oak tree no longer stands, nor does hog pen turn 17, the corners both still bear the name of what used to exist. And the track stays unchanged the way it was meant to be, with the lay of the land, for the land. Maybe that's why Paul Newman called it heaven on earth.
The months of winter racing in GRIDLIFE iRacers comes to a close as computers shut down and garages open for the 2022 motorsports season. 7 rounds down and 1 to go in what has been the most competitive and thrilling GRIDLIFE Esports series to date. Each week, over 60 drivers showed up to compete for 40 spots, and until last week, every single race was won by a different driver. That means it's just single digits that separate our top few as we go racing one final time in iRacing for the Winter Touring Car Classic. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by Greg Creamer for the final time this season. Greg, it's been a pleasure to work alongside you as we head into this last round at one of America's greatest racetracks.
Well, thanks very much, Kyle, and a pleasure for me as well. I've really enjoyed announcing this format, kind of new for me, and have enjoyed it. And the variety of tracks and locations that we get to go to has been just superb. But tough to do better than to finish at Virginia International Raceway. You saw that beautiful open and that quote by Paul Newman. Another one that I thought was kind of interesting in regards to this track. The guy who won the first ever race here was a guy who had a future, Carroll Shelby. And one of his lines was, at the time, he said, 1 lap at VIR is like 100 at Watkins Glen. That was the challenge that presented these drivers. And you see here, the version we're going to be racing here still has the oak tree, so we're really going back in time just a little bit on one of the truly great tracks. It's mesmerizing.
Going back in time to about 2006 is roughly when this track was laser scanned for iRacing. So we have the oak tree and we have the old style curbing and all of those things. But coming into the night, we have a very intense points championship to decide. On the top of the standings right now, it's Matt Corrins, Matt Waldbaum, and DJ Alessandrini. Paul Darling's right there as well. In the points, we've only factored in one of the 2 drop races. Drivers get 2 drop races, meaning their best 6 of 8 count. So that's going to shuffle things as well after the evening is over, and hopefully we can have the points results outcome before we go off air tonight, and we can know officially who wins the championship. But Matt Corrins comes in leading by 2 over Waldbaum, and DJ Alessandrini, in his bid to win the championship, has made the switch to the Audi RS3 TCR. Greg did this because of the DSG gearbox. It does not have a clutch pedal, and it's been an advantage on starts, and DJ's trying to pull out all the stops and get what he can tonight.
Well, and we've heard some of the drivers also talk about the fact that it just seems to have a little bit better low-end launch, which is, partly what you're talking about from a standing start, but also there are some awfully snug corners here, and most of them come early in the lap. So I think if you're in one of these cars, you get a good start, and then you can get a little bit of a jump in those early few corners. That's going to play very, very well here as we hop on board. A couple of things to note about this track. It's 3.27 miles long, 17 turns on this layout we're running. There's 130 feet of elevation change from the lowest point, which is down by the turn 1 area, right in here, the horseshoe. That's why this part of the track tends to flood. When there's heavy rains, there's a little creek right over in there. But here's the deal. There's a section of the track called the Climbing S's. Two things about that. It does indeed climb. From your entrance point to your exit point, it's about a 50-foot climb through those 3 really, really quick corners. 2 of them, the apexes, Kyle, are right at the crest, and they are blind going in. So the car gets massively light. This is the section called the Snake here, but it's this next section of S's. You're building huge speed, and then as you start to turn in right here, here's the climb. This first one, up and over, you get light. This one, up and over, you get light. Then there's the blind drop now down through what's called South Bend, or turn 10, wickedly quick corner, and then up and underneath the oak tree. The other part of this track that's really fascinating is that elevation change we were talking about. From the entrance to the roller coaster, turn 14, 14A, to the exit of Hog Pen, you drop 110 feet. It's a lot like, it has the feel almost of a reverse corkscrew at Laguna Seca. It's remarkable, and it really plummets down the hill.
Great looks at the elevation change here, and DJ's heading up into roller coaster now, and there's a couple places around this track, Greg, where, as you mentioned, you sort of drop off a cliff, and there's a lot of commitment required here, especially in a TCR car, which has a lot of downforce. So you're relying on that downforce to catch you when you throw the car into the corner, especially here into Hog Pen. Just the car kind of catches itself. If you drop a tire there on the outside, it's game over. You're going for a long ride, and there's grass everywhere. No paved runoff here.
And very few gravel traps. You're absolutely right. And you'll notice that a lot of it, when you get off the track, it actually drops away as you get off the track. So if you go off, you just start, like right here, you just start sliding if you go off to the outside, especially if it's been wet. Not so bad when it's been dry, but you slide a long ways, and then you eventually hit something. So I've often said, when I've been announcing races at this track, it's a 3.25 mile road course that you have to drive, oftentimes with street course-like precision, because as you said, if you drop a tire, you're going for a long and uncomfortable ride.
Well, we have 45 entrants tonight, so only 5 drivers will be eliminated en route to the 40-driver feature towards the end of the evening. So our heat races will be a little bit less picky than they have been in the past. So again, only 5 drivers will be eliminated at the end of the night. That will come down to the LCQ. That'll be a 15-driver race. Top 10 will move on. Quick note, if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're not, you should head over there. Sean's going to be giving away some prizes courtesy of BC Racing just for your participation in the chat. So make sure that you're chatting and calling your favorites and giving your buddies a hard time, rooting on your favorite drivers. Make sure you're there in the chat, win some prizes courtesy of BC Racing. Big thanks to them also for putting up a set of coilovers for the season champion, and GridLife will also be giving away 2 VIP tickets to a GridLife Festival of the winner's choice. Now that will be a raffle-based prize based on your points position. That'll be the number of entries that you get for that prize. So the points will be renormalized, 25 points to the champion, 21 and then 18, 16, 15, and so on. That will be a raffle drawing, and then that'll be 2 GridLife VIP tickets. And again, thanks to Recaro for offering prizing to our podium winners from each round. Top 3 in this race will get prizes from Recaro. Lots of things to hand out to people tonight, Greg. Some hardware left and right, but now it's about time to hand out a green flag for our first of 2 heat races. And we have 23 drivers. The top 15 will move on from this race.
And even though you don't get any points for these heat races, qualifying up near the front, having a good run in these heat races determines where you start. And as you said, we come in here, top 4 in the points covered by 11. And you talked about it. Points will be normalized, 25 for the win. So there is a lot to play for right now. And we've got a fairly familiar front row here, don't we? Roberts and Corrance, based on the qualifying time. Roberts is the guy with a huge chunk of momentum going right now.
Yeah, he's won the last 2 rounds, both at Lime Rock and at Knock Hill a week ago. Now, no other driver this season has won multiple races. It's been a different winner every round with the exception of Knock Hill, where Roberts racked up his 2nd of the year. So he's the guy everyone's trying to take down. But this is a very important night for Matt Corrance in that number 42. In practice, he wasn't very high up the order. He qualified well, but he's the one on top of the standings trying to defend from everybody else.
Absolutely, and so he's only got a 2-point lead, so it's not like he can say, all right, I'm just going to be easy here, finish back in 5th, 6th. That's not going to do it. He's going to have to race for this, particularly if Walbaum has the kind of run that he's been having as of late. He'll start right behind Corrence here in that 4th spot. And Walbaum, you take a look at it, comes in second in the points. He's had 3 second-place finishes, and if he hadn't missed that first race at Monza, he might well be the points leader. This is the guy to watch right now.
Paul Darling will be in our second heat. He has returned after missing a couple of rounds, but he is in position. He's used up his drops at this point, so he better be ready to go racing tonight. He is in position to grab another victory and potentially the championship. Time to go racing. This race will be 10 minutes long, as will the other heat races tonight. Roberts, Corrence on pole. We take the top 15, 23 drivers on the grid, and waiting for the green flag to fly. The red lights are on, and they're out. Green flag flies. We're racing at VIR for the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. A slow start for Austin Barnes, and Dana Pasinski and others. Ito Waxman swing around the outside.
Yeah, it was an interesting start for Roberts. Not one of his better ones, but just good enough, and it helped that Corrence just sort of knifed over to protect, knowing somebody was going to try and do something up the inside if he didn't. And I think is that Walbaum now that has slotted into that 3rd spot. And looking pretty good at the early going here. Of course, very early in this one.
Clean first couple corners. Ryan Engel goes for a slide and with the Elantra, and Eric Anderson goes for a loop, but just those 2 drivers with issues so far. There's one of the new Hyundai Veloster type ends. That's Kevin Zhu in the number 13. This is a new car as of last week. We haven't seen a lot of takers in it, but there's Zhu in the 13 car, and he's 2 spots shy of advancing.
And I like that graphics package on there, having a little fun, isn't he?
It looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Now up into the S's for the first time.
Oh, I love this section of track.
Then up over the blind crest, down the hill towards Oak Tree, and a couple cars, everybody off. And there's one car way far off. It's Anthony Montello, but there he is in the number 93. Woo. He went for a huge ride.
He did. Fortunately, everybody sensed it and gave him the room to come back on here. Now underneath the old Oak Tree, which of course was felled by some lightning a number of years ago. Back when it was still actually there, if it was raining, you would get the moss, the Spanish moss that hangs in those oak trees would get pushed down onto the track, and it would be a real skating rink over there. But here's that long, long run down this, what they call Madison Avenue, the back straight into 14. 14A, ooh, really wide there, and around goes the number 12.
That's Rodig, who will go for a bit of a slide, keep it going the right direction, and bounces back on track, but went in side by side with Ryan Kristoff and a roller coaster, and going to get squeezed here. The 43 car Nazario through the dirt. He's going to slide back across the track and go for an excursion off into the scenery here at VIR.
That's one of those areas that there's a ton of room down there, so he was able to get away with it, but obviously lost a huge amount of track position here. So Roberts up front by about a half second over Corrence, then another half second back to Walbaum, and that little bit of a break now back to the 11 of Waxman.
There's Ito Waxman in the number 11, and there's Dana Basinski in the number 14. Had a really good, strong midseason and is rebounding nicely here at VIR. Right in the top 5 at the moment. Here's Anthony Montello recovering from his slide, trying to get past Peter Zhang in that 23 Not Fast Motorsports Civic.
Yeah, nice to see Basinski up there having that solid run. He had a little bit of a struggle at a couple of events here, but now it's really dialing it up again, and he is going to take a look here at Waxman. Nope, not quite enough room there to do much with it.
Just kind of got to throw the car around a little bit. These cars have enough downforce that it's pretty easily flat through the S's. That final right-hander before turn 11, though, that one can be a little dicey if you miss the turn-in point. But Basinski also has Austin Barnes behind him. As one car's off, it's Walbaum in the fence.
Oh, yeah, that was a significant off. Up into the Oak Tree turn, the 12th turn on the track. And without doubt, it's the most important turn on the track. He just dropped those lefts right at turn-in, and he got away without hitting the barriers. That was a great recovery.
That's going to cost him, though, because he's 10th right now, and this is going to set your position in your row for the feature event. He's currently P10. That would put him as far back as 19th or 20th in the feature to start. That would be catastrophic for his championship hopes.
Now, in one of the races earlier this year, he did come, I think it was from the 3rd round at Imola, from 13th to get on the podium. So he can pass. He's got speed. It's just a matter in these races, they're only half the distance. It's tough to get the job done.
Dana Basinski chasing Barnes down the front straightaway. This is a battle for fourth. Waxman has stretched his legs a little bit up into third. But Barnes on a recovery charge after that slow start. A little wide there on the turn-in point to turn one, but there's a big bump right in the center of 1 and 2 that you kind of have to wait for the car to set before you can get power down there.
Yes, there's a lot of little nuance on this track, obviously, and it's long and winding, and this corner coming up here, if you get a really good run out of 3, you can surprise somebody here into what they call left hook, and now you start into the section called snake. You can make these little surprise moves in certain spots here, but knowing like that little bump, where to place the car on entry so that you're fairly straight over the bump, and then you can get a little bit more input into the steering wheel. That's all crucial to getting around here quickly.
Did a little bit of airborne here, jump the curbs on the run up the hill. Again, front wheel drive, you're a little safer doing that than in a rear wheel drive car. And Oak Tree again, turning in, braking. A lot of requests from the front tires for grip down here, and sometimes it doesn't quite pan out. But Waxman gets a great run on exit. They both drop tires though.
Yeah, he double corrected through there, but I think that little bit of rotation he got actually helped sort of null the push out of a front wheel drive car, and he was able to get to the throttle. But Barnes now able to dial it up, and he's coming right after him, and back in the pack it's getting pretty fierce too. Is that Mogensen and Thang?
It's Zhang and Montello that are side by side, and look at this, lunging into roller coaster. Whoa, a slide and contact, and Waldbaum caught up in it.
And there would have been a great opportunity for Waldbaum had those two guys opened the door to be able to pick up a couple of quick spots. Didn't quite happen. And Zhang and Montello obviously running awfully tough right now to get through.
We only have 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this race. That means next time by should be about 2 laps to go. For third place, here's Barnes up the inside of Waxman, and Basinski's back for more.
Great action here, as you would expect. And Basinski would ride on board with just watching, looking for opportunity up through this section of track here. Ooh, bit wide on the exit goes Waxman. Barnes slices through, picks that spot up into left hook.
Whoa, and a bit of a bobble by both of those cars, the blue and the yellow, and the orange following suit. Big chunk of curb through Snake. And Ryan Kristoff in the 46 also having a bit of a sight on this 3-car battle for third place.
I think all of that little bit of battling those guys up front were doing has allowed Kristoff to join right back in. Then there's that bit of a gap to Mogensen, Montello, Zhang, and Waldbaum down to the inside of Zhang. Zhang having none of it, shutting the door there. And it's still the 13 is Zhu holding on by about 2 seconds in that last transfer spot.
Waxman slid out of South Bend, and that allowed Basinski to get by Waldbaum, and Zhang. Was there contact here down into Oak Tree?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Let's take a look.
Whoa, no.
No. He just got in a little too hot. And Waldbaum has now picked up another spot.
Up to 9th place. Still got a long way to go. Up to 3rd place. We mentioned Waxman was off at South Bend. That allowed Basinski to get through to 4th. And now the 14 sets sights on the 31. There's Mogensen off wide. We'll rejoin behind Brent Schneekloth in the number 15. This is a driver that we've seen and talked about a couple times so far this season. But up front, 2 laps to go. About a minute. Ooh, that was actually pretty close. We are going to get 2 laps here, Greg, but that was really dicey getting back
yes,
to the stripe before a minute and 57 or so. But Roberts and Corinth separated by 0.6 of a second.
This is that fabulous run that you start here coming through. That is the long left-hander, and then this really snug sequence, and now you just start feeding it throttle, and you got to thread the needle through here as you literally snake through this section of track. Look at the gap these guys have opened up now. It's almost 5 seconds from Corns back to Barnes. A lot of room, and now into the climbing S's.
They've certainly established their lead, and it allows these two to tango all on their own. And I think, in weeks past, you probably would have been okay finishing second in a heat race. Not tonight, Greg. Every position is going to matter, and turn one at VIR is so calamitous at times that you don't really want to be in traffic at all. If you can sit on pole, you're going to give it your best shot, and Corrence is closing.
Absolutely. One thing about this track, it's long, but it's relatively narrow, compared to some others. And so the farther up you could be, obviously, it's going to be crucial here. Here's this huge four-car battle for third. Barnes, Basinski, Waxman, and Kristoff. And looks like Waxman's got a run on Basinski here. See if he's able to do anything with it, heading down Madison Avenue.
Going to look to driver's left here. I'm not sure that that's the line you're going to want to have. Basinski's going to have the protective line into roller coaster. He will take it.
Oh.
Kristoff goes for a big slide and gathers it up.
Yeah, it was a nice move by Basinski. You could do that, but you have to do exactly what he did and get your car at least a half car length clear of the front end of the other car. And that sort of serves notice that you do anything here, we're going to hit as the white flag comes out.
And it is getting very close indeed at the front. 0.3 of a second now. Corrence chunked 2.5 tenths away last time by. He's within slipstream distance now. Now he's going to have to get creative to make this pass.
What you see on that turn in, Roberts, the back end really sort of rotated around, I think a little bit more than he would have wanted. Corrence able to stay right with him on rails. That tells me that I think Roberts' car is getting fairly loose out there. It's not as bad, obviously, with the front drive car, but you still want to be able to use the rear of that car for positioning. And Corrence just looks like he's able to get through these sections of track right now just a little bit smoother.
Half a second is the differential now. It's all going to come down to Oak Tree. This is really your last real opportunity to slipstream up to somebody. It's on that back straightaway, and the setup to that is ultra important. And you heard Corrence just get to the top of the rev limiter there and ping it off the limiter a few times, trying to get everything out of this engine. Roberts a little bit of a slide into Oak Tree, but sets up the exit very nicely.
Yeah, that time he used that rotation beautifully. And Oak Tree, as tight as it is, as is often the case, most important corner because it leads onto the longest absolute flat-out run here. Here's this tasty little battle again, and with Basinski now making the move. Waxman, though, in Basinski's draft, see what he's going to be able to do. Can he return the favor?
Nose to tail into roller coaster for the final time. Basinski cheats to the left just a moment. Here comes Waxman squeezing up the left-hand side of the road.
So close.
Oh, Basinski got a little awkward there, and here comes Waxman through the inside. He'll take that spot away. As we come back to the checkered, Christopher Roberts, his perfect record continues. This time we'll pick up a win in a heat race. And checkered flag for Roberts. Corrence 4/10 back.
Wow, look at the gap. These two guys were just off in an amazing battle here. It looks like it's going to be Barnes comfortably for third, then Waxman, Basinski, and Kristoff coming through to complete your top six.
And wanted to mention,
Walbaum did work up to 7th.
Well, that's not bad. He'll still be back in row number 7, unfortunately. Wanted to mention Anthony Montello's livery today. He's running a special livery in memory of looks like it's Jason Lisner on the back of his car, a racer who recently passed away. So Montello running a livery in memory of Jason tonight. So that's really cool, and I think that's one of the benefits of iRacing in general, Greg, is when you can paint your car, it becomes a canvas for all sorts of things, and that's really neat to see it used that way.
Well, it is, and it's neat to see that memorial livery, if you will. Also, the legendary John Wyer Automotive Gulf colors, the blue and the tangerine. That's pretty cool, too.
Really neat for sure. All right, checkered flag is out. Roberts, Corrence, Barnes, Waxman, Basinski, your top 5. Again, Matt Walbaum will roll off in row number 7 in the feature. He'll have work to do. Looks like drivers that are going to be out as it stands: Kevin Zhu, Nick Nelson, Danny Yesser, Ryan Engel, Ravi Managaran, David Kramer, Eric Anderson, and Brian Lyons. Those are the drivers that were below that 15th place cut line. Now, again, as I mentioned, we're only going to take 10 in the LCQ, which means only 5 drivers will be eliminated tonight instead of what could be up to 20, I believe, on a normal basis. So it's going to be a real tough fight in that LCQ, that's for sure.
No doubt. I mean, last race of the season, everybody wants to go out with a really good show, really get after it here, and they'll give it everything that they possibly can. And when you look at the points here, we talked about that top 4 covered by 11. just outside of any mathematical chance of a championship is Roberts. But boy, with the form that he has been on here, he could truly be the spoiler for any one of those top 4 tonight.
Time to go to our second heat race now. We'll head down to the racetrack and have a look. This is a pretty interesting grid. Paul Darling and DJ Alessandrini on the front row for this one. We know those two are ultra competitive. Then Eric Pennington, Darian Taggart, and Rob Clark. We've seen all 3 of those drivers kind of in the mix throughout this season, but they haven't really been at the pointy end. They're going to get their chance tonight. Emmett Savage rolls off in 7th. He's been a contender. Alex Artea will roll off inside the top 10. Pretty interesting field here at the top of the order.
And Emmett Savage, I think, is somebody to keep an eye on here. You know, you take a look at the at Lime Rock. Emmett had a 5th place finish with a good qualifying effort in 5th. Then at the last race at Knockhill, also qualified 5th, but had in that immense starting line or opening lap kerfuffle, ended up dropping way back. I think he's going to be ultra motivated to do something special here as we're green.
Green flag in heat number 2. 10 minutes on the board, and it's real frantic. Rob Clark drives away. Taggart, though, gets a real slow start in the Honda. Off into turn 1. One car cheats over. That's Pennington chasing. I think that was Clark in the 17. Yes, that Taco Bell car.
Savage, right where he started, I think, in 7th, so he didn't lose anything at this stage. That 909 of Patza doing a nice job as well. Take a look there at the 77 of Artea, who's 3 cars spearing off.
Michael Bryant is one of them. Azmat Mohammed is the other. But those are the only 2 that have made it significantly far off course. Darian Taggart struggling to keep all 4 tires on the gray stuff.
That's not good because that's going to drop him, right back into 13th. So he's not that far clear of getting a transfer. He might lose a couple of more spots before he gets into the rhythm. He's kind of getting freight trained now, and the problem is, where do you join? Do they let you blend in? And he's still fighting to find a spot here, all the way off track. Finally gets on, but the guy that was squeezing him a little bit went for a ride.
Woo. That was Michael Hergen, and he's going to go all the way across the racetrack. And Taggart did go off as well.
Taggart had to spear up because, just in avoidance.
So Hergen will get the car back on track down in 20th place. Curtis James off track in the Veloster. That's that number 87. A frantic start here, Greg. Heat 1 again, the quieter of the 2.
Yeah, by far. Up front, Darling leading from Alessandrini, and the 2 Audis starting to ease just a little bit away from Pennington. And then Tucciarone and Clark rounding out your top 5. Savage up into 6th.
Yeah, I think we're seeing something similar that we saw in Heat 1, where 2 drivers are probably going to pull away, that being Darling and Alessandrini, leaving everyone else to fend for themselves. And that 2-car breakaway could be important because that means it'll be a 4-car breakaway come the feature event when all 4 of those top-notch drivers are right in the mix together.
I'm interested to see here going into the horseshoe into turn 1. Does Darling open it up to get the entry? Yes, he does. I think it was because he realized Alessandrini was just far enough back he wasn't going to really be able to make much of a lunge. And
Darling, again, in the Audi, his advantage in weeks prior was being in the Audi. There wasn't a ton of these at the front of the field other than Chris Roberts and Austin Cobb. Everyone else had been running the Honda or the Hyundai up in the front mix, but now with Alessandrini jumping ship from the Honda into the Hyundai, that could certainly mix things up at the start of the feature and take away one of Darling's advantages.
I think that's absolutely right. And so, but Darling does have, good little thump right there.
Michael Montello.
65 Michael Montello trying to work that outside line and just got collected.
Darian Taggart trying to get by Val DiPietro after losing a few spots last lap, and they're going to make contact. Look out, everybody scatters.
Wow, that's twice now. Oh,
I think he's going to run out of luck.
Taggart. Boy, he has had one of the roughest opening couple of laps. Oh my. Well, there you go.
Well, that'll be a big wreck there. That's unfortunately going to collect Curtis James and others. Michael Hergen sails right through. He'll pick up a couple spots. I hear some sliding up the road. It's Michael Montello again. This is just a mess this heat.
Yeah, and Montello, he was in a transfer spot after he got that little bit of a moment there. He had dropped back, sitting in that 15th spot. Have to see whether he can hang on to it here.
Emmett Savage and Rob Clark for position here. This is for 5th place.
Savage just working the inside, outside, anything he can do at this stage.
Look at that run he
plummeting
built.
Down the hill, yeah.
Oh, all the way out to the edge of the track and onto the curb, but look at the run he carried. He's got so much speed.
And that turn is called hogpen, and the reason is back when the track went fallow for a number of years in the 70s, there was actually a farm there, and there was a hogpen, quite literally, out there. Look at this, Savage trying to work the outside. You could do that here. You can stay. You've got the inside line now into turn 3.
He's going to have it.
Makes it work. Yeah,
wow.
Nicely done.
That took about 4 corners to make happen, but he made it happen.
And that turn 3, it's almost a double apex corner, and it goes on forever, and it really paced that right front tire.
Shane Patza in the 909 chases Jonathan Davis. This is a battle for 7th place. Davis in the blue and orange, Patza in the 909, the green and black.
This will be a fun ride up through the S's here.
Can't see anything with the car in front of you either.
No, you're literally driving through the rear window and the windshield of the guy in front of you sometimes.
You know, interesting that you noticed that, Greg, because DJ noticed on these TCR cars that the Audi has a tinted rear windshield and the other cars do not. So when you're following an Audi, it's actually really hard to see through it. Where some of the other cars, I'd love to get a different perspective in another battle.
Yeah.
You can see much more clearly through the Honda's rear windshield than you can on the Audi, and that has been a big concern at some of these bigger, faster tracks.
That's a really good point. I had noticed that, and that could be really problematic here.
We actually looked it up, and the real car, at least the one that they used for all the promotional shots, did have rear tint, which is bizarre. I wouldn't think that would be even legal, but maybe it's not in the series of races.
Well, there's that too, yes. Here's that long, right on the edge. That's what you call the rim shot by Davis.
We're really not a lot to catch.
If you get that right, you can really flow a lot of speed, but man, you miss it by just a half foot, it could be disastrous.
Leaders nose to tail, less than a car length between them as we got a battle for 4th. Savage down the inside of Tucci and goes off course.
Oh, they just touched as Savage made the pass. It was just enough to knock Savage a little kittywampus, and off he went. Now he's got to do all that work again here.
Yeah, he just slid. Oh, he slid the rear, and that's what got into the 39.
That was a little bit too much speed in. Back end came around, and so that was sort of self-correcting, wasn't it?
Yeah, here's Patza and Davis continuing to run nose to tail. There's just no room for error here. You're carrying so much speed onto corner exits, especially down after roller coaster and back to the stripe, as you mentioned. The fast line takes you right to the edge of the racetrack, and if you make a mistake there, there's just nothing to catch you. There's a little bit of a curb, but you're already going to be using that already. And if you still overstep the bounds, it's a long ride to the fence.
It is, and like I said, you can see it here. Look, everything, if you go off, it falls away. And so you've got nothing to help you, as you said, with that little bit of grip if you run a smidge wide. What a great shot there coming through Oak Tree.
And for the top spot, here comes DJ Alessandrini on Paul Darling.
All right, side by each. And he's got enough. He should clear him comfortably. Darling, it'd be a heck of a lunge. Smart move by DJ, recognizing that Darling might go for that and left room just in case, so they didn't hit.
Ooh, big slam for Darling off the curb. Bottomed the car out, will lose some ground on Alessandrini, but DJ's got a really strong run up onto the front straightaway and will gap Darling by about 3 car lengths. White flag.
White flag, boy, it does go fast, doesn't it? Especially on a long track.
Yeah, we got the white flag from the start stand, so I assume that means we're white. Generally, the time can be close enough that you don't get it, even when it says you do. So it's going to be an interesting situation when we get back to the stripe. But Darling is racing like it's the final lap. Look at this, right on top of DJ.
All over him here.
And Savage.
Shout out to Savage off again.
Oh, what happened this time? Just went straight off and won. Wow.
That's a shame. He had some speed, no question. I was just about to say, how about a shout out to Pennington? He really has a nice run going today.
It's going to put him up in the mix for sure once we get to the feature race, so it'll be fun to watch him go. He's not really in contention for the championship, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch him kind of throw a wrench into things for the drivers that are all sort of doing that co-opetition thing where they're working together but competing. Pennington's not in that group. Where DJ Darling, Matt Waldbaum, they all are. So they all know what's up and what they have to do. Pennington is just going for a victory tonight.
Well, he's certainly got some good speed and some form here. Now, Darling close enough.
Go, go,
Might
go.
actually be a little bit too close, because if you pull out too soon here, suddenly that could give DJ a chance to tuck back in. Well, not quite here.
This is going to get dicey as we get to
Yes,
roller coaster.
it is.
Darling's got the advantage, but Alessandrini's got the line.
And tell you what, Darling returning that, that's one of the things. When you race somebody with respect, it comes back to you in a good way. Look at this.
Oh, there they touch.
Oh! Got the curb, around he went. What a save.
Did a great job saving it. Alessandrini will pull through. Here comes Pennington. He's going to sweep around and grab second place from Darling in the final moments.
Wow. And he was just pushing so hard, and he made that little mistake you're talking about.
Yeah, let's go back
It's just enough.
and look at it and see again how that kind of formulated. We caught that a little bit late, so we'll go back and try to catch it again. They're coming down the hill here, Greg, and they're just going to run out of racetrack, but they were doing so well until then, right here.
Yeah, they really were. And he got that, wait for it here, there's going to be right there.
Yep.
He got that bit of curb, and my guess is, believe it or not, that he dropped those tires, may have dirtied up that left rear when he hopped this curb. See how far over he went?
Yep.
Because I didn't think there was a touch.
Yeah, there might have been some of that net code contact that we were talking about in previous weeks.
Yes.
Exactly. That prediction code, again, that's a high momentum area when you're side to side at least. So that could have been what caused that. There's a look at your top 10. Again, only 15 will advance. That means everyone from Alfred Rodriguez on down will be eliminated. Should quickly note, though, that Michael Hergen is in 15th place. He advances to the feature.
Boy, what a recovery. And, of course, he had a couple of instances where the seas parted for him. But still a nice recovery drive. Well done, Michael.
Again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to participate in the chat. And Sean is giving out prizes courtesy of BC Racing just for your participation in the chat. Again, big thanks to BC Racing and Recaro for providing prizes for the GRIDLIFE Winter Touring Car Classic. This is going to be it for esports action for a little while, Greg. We do it kind of seasonally because the majority of the drivers kind of turn their attention to their real race cars come the season. So we're going to be putting down iRacing for a little while, but we will be sparking it back up periodically throughout the season to do some one-offs and some fun events before we settle back down for the long, cold, dark winter again at the tail end of 2022.
Well, it's a great way to spend that long, cold, dark winter is in a nice warm chair and racing with people from all around the globe. That's one of the attractions for it. And we're green.
And here comes the LCQ only 10 advance from this race. And there are, looks like we've got 12 in this. So a couple drivers have left the chat, so to speak. And that means only 2 of these drivers will not move on. This is going to get very fierce back here, especially when the field size is so low. The consequences are just as high. The 34 gets turned around.
There's a little bit of a grind as well. You can see, I couldn't see who it was that got trapped behind him, but he just kept the pedal down because of what you're talking about. If I could just be in front of 2 guys, I'm good here. Sometimes that allows the old manners to get away. Did I see a car that was spun back there?
I think we're all good. Everyone's going the right direction now. Brian Lyons in the 33, currently in elimination territory. So is Azimuth Muhammad. That is the 21, the not fast car in the background. But Ravi Managaran has a target on the rear wing of this car, and Brian Lyons in that blue car is coming for it.
Boy, doesn't he? And it's going to be really fascinating to see just what level of commitment these guys are going to be putting in here. Lions, that blue number 33, chasing. Whoop, and there's a little bit of potential help.
Yeah, that was, I think, the 35 car of Piero Pucci.
I think so. Pucci did a nice job of recovering. Boy, did he just drop the hammer. He really got a good launch. Look at that. What a launch out of Oak Tree.
Drag racing Michael Bryant, he will grab that position. And Ravi Managaran smells blood in the water here. He comes with a big run. Meanwhile, the leaders are side by side. We'll quickly take you there. It's Nelson that grabs away from Rodriguez as we go back to that battle into roller coaster. Whoa.
Really close. There's a touch right there, I think. The number 34, Bryant.
man.
So close.
Makes me nervous here. This is a tough switchback to do side by side. They're going to do it, though. The 34 will have to step off track, and he's going to drop down the order and now down to last place. And that is not where you want to be at this stage in the game.
Not at all. Lyons and Mohammed both just sliced through. And suddenly Bryant has got not only is sitting outside of a transfer spot, but he's got a lot of room he's going to have to make up here, not a lot of time.
About 4 seconds back from the next competitor, and even that won't solidify him a spot in the feature event. Here's Curtis James, who was involved in that big crash up the S's with Darian Taggart. Curtis James right now in a transfer spot. Oh, he's going to dive to the inside of Kevin Zhu. 2 Velosters going at it here.
And keeps it on track. Nicely done. And right behind them, Engel watching as he sits in that 6th spot.
Yeah, Ryan Engel in the 84. Only 2 tenths separating the leaders, too. Remember, that will be 31st position, whoever wins this race. So it's a win in name only. It's still going to be a pretty long night to start back there. Look at Rodriguez and Montello, though. That's Michael Montello, nose to tail here for 2nd place. Obscured by the oak tree. Oh, Montello goes down the inside and gives Rodriguez a bit of a punt there to the right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, he did. And I was just loving how they were both sending it through turn 10.
Up the backstretch now. Look at Curtis James crowding Engel on the Elantra. Hyundai on Hyundai violence here.
Oh, give him a little bit of room.
Look at this.
This is close quarters stuff. Love this. Zhu, James, and Engel.
How's that for a Hyundai ad campaign for you?
It certainly is. Grab that screenshot. Down through that roller coaster. I like the graphic on James' car, too.
Yeah, it looks great. Colors go well on it. Nice contrast, and I love the silhouette of the Veloster. It's a great looking machine. Up for the front.
Really is.
Look at Nelson. He's got Michael Montello fighting to his left now. Drag race into turn 1 for the lead.
Montello had some pretty decent speed in that first heat and then ended up off track. A nice move, just swept right around the outside. Nelson kind of got pinned there for a second. Rodriguez thought maybe I can work that outside line. Here's what I'm talking about with this turn 3. That's the first part. Then here's the second part. It just goes on forever.
Yeah, it's real
challenge.
Get it
right. Yeah, if you get it right, you can surprise somebody into 4.
And the current version of this track has a little bit of extra runoff beyond the curbing. You don't get that here. So if you step a little bit too wide, you're just going to be in the grass. Look at this. The trio again, Zhu, James, and Engel. Veloster, and Elantra. And these 3 are actually catching the front 3 at the moment.
Yeah, they are. Absolute lockstep. I just love how the cars dance over those lined apexes.
Look at the run from Curtis James on Zhu here. This is going to be a big dive up the inside if he can make it stick.
Zhu carried just enough speed with that little wider line. But now I think James has had a nice exit out of Oak Tree. He's close enough. We'll see if he's able to get any kind of measurable tow here. And as they're doing this, you're right. They are closing up on Rodriguez here. That margin's down to, less than a second now.
Yeah, they're stringing out a little bit, but overall they've gotten closer from front to back. Maybe not quite as side-by-side as they were. I think the fear now is that Michael Montello has the advantage and is growing it out front 0.8 of a second. And that is going to bring everyone else into the mix for 2nd place, but they're going to lose that leader in this fight.
You know, Michael comes in here 8th in the points. He gained 2 spots with his run at Knockhill and really showed some speed there. Qualified 6th, ran comfortably up into a 6th place finish. So you knew he was capable here, and I think he's finally starting to really show it.
Into turn 1, here's James up the inside of Zhu. He'll grab that spot. Zhu's going to try to power around the outside as to jump on the brakes.
Yeah, if you're going to make that outside move, you've got to be completely alongside as you're coming out of the horseshoe, or it just isn't going to work. If you're there, it works beautifully, but there's a fine line between success and failure in that equation. As we go back to this battle with Lyons and Muhammad, the last 2 that are going to transfer here.
Yeah, Pucci and Michael Bryant are 4 tenths apart. And unfortunately, they're going to be battling themselves long before they'll be battling anybody in the show. And they're facing elimination. Should also mention that this race pace has been a little bit slower. than the previous 2 races, which means we were right on the cusp of running 5 or 6 laps previously. Well, we're going to be definitely running 6, I would think, in this race. So it'll give you the extra lap, which for Nelson and Rodriguez might be enough time to kind of remount a charge. Look at this up the inside.
Nelson lunges down to the inside, got a really good run through turn 10, used the momentum, was able to slice through, and that actually got him off line, got Nelson off line enough that James is coming after him.
Yeah, they definitely banged doors down there at the apex of Oak Tree. It was pretty hard contact, but they'll be able to continue. And Nelson going the wrong direction as James drives up the outside here, driver's right, into roller coaster.
Does he brave it in? No, but he left the door a little too open.
Woof.
And a big lunge there by Zoo, another grinding pass. And Nelson, you're right, has gone from the lead back to 6 in what, a couple laps?
Need the elbows out in this one, that's for sure. Zoo and Engel going at it for 4th now. Up front, Michael Montello leads by 1.7. He is just setting sail, and this time will be the white flag lap.
That is that lead group. And while Montello's checking out here, it's turning into a 5-car battle for 2nd, isn't it?
It really has condensed significantly. And look at this. Engel on the outside of Zoo now. Through the trees here into turn 3. Nice crossover there on the first part of the corner, but it's the second part that matters, and there he goes past Zoo on the inside.
If you get somebody just off their rhythm a little bit in this section of track, that's exactly what can happen. And you get a little wide going into 4.
Whoa!
And drops the rear, saves it.
He might have gotten a slowdown there, though. If he got away with it, he's very lucky. It's easy to cut that area here in iRacing if you slip up just a little bit, but looks like he'll carry on. Nick Nelson slides back into 5th.
Well, this has been eventful, hasn't it?
It has. There's been a lot of shuffling in this one. It's hard to keep up with.
The lone exception once Montello got to the front.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Well, he has a 1-second lead. He gave about half of it away there.
Is Rodriguez close enough to be able to do anything into? And here's the question: at what point do you say, why would I risk it? Finishing 2nd versus 1st here, not going to do much in terms of where I line up. But if I get punted off the track and I don't transfer,
you got to just make it to the race and deal with the rest later.
Exactly.
Down the hill for the final time. In the LCQ again, we're taking the top 10. The drivers in red will be eliminated. Bryant and Pucci on the outside looking in. And Montello gave away all of his lead in the final moments of this one, but he will come back and win the LCQ. He will start 31st. Engel goes for a slide on the last corner, and he's going to give up 2 of his spots. Nelson and Zoo go on through.
Wow, yeah, and he had driven, he'd been really aggressive in the like, and it just got away from him. So Engel drops back, and that puts Nelson back up into 4th. A little bit of salve for the wound there.
And Michael Bryant will be eliminated, and he will not make the feature tonight. Piero Pucci as well in the yellow 35. After all that, we had a couple drivers bail out before the LCQ, but only 2 will be officially eliminated in the heat races tonight. Kramer, Anderson, and Darian Taggart, the other 3 that did not make it here. Wow, okay, that was something. We're going to get to recalibrate now and go for the win in the championship. So a quick reminder on the point scenario coming into this. It was Corrence, Walbaum, Alessandrini with 113 points, 111 points, and 110 points respectively. Paul Darling has 102 points, so he's 8 back from DJ, and Christopher Roberts is a little too far back, I think, to really be a factor, but he will certainly be in contention to win.
Well, and that's where I was talking about that. He could well be a spoiler here and sort of take points away from some of the competitors. But Darling, if you have anything happen with those 3 up front, Darling is well within the mathematical realm of still being able to steal this championship away. Yes, he'll need a little help with something happening, but you never know, that's for sure.
Well, time to go racing for the final time in the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. I can say that with confidence that we've used these TCR cars to death. I think everybody is ready for a change at this point. I think they've been thrilling all the way through, Greg, but as driving them is a little bit different than watching them, and I think everyone's ready to go grab some stadium super trucks or V8 supercars or something silly. But one more race, 20 minutes on the board. And your starting lineup will be on the left-hand side of the screen in just a moment. 40 drivers going for the top spot.
Well, in these cars, there's so much aero, so you have to drive them with a little bit of finesse, and that's that's why this is such good training for actually going racing, because they're momentum cars. That's for sure. Just wanted to make a quick note here. First ever IMSA GT race was run right here in 1971, won by Peter Gregg and Hurley Haywood. So this track's history runs deep, no question about that. And we're setting up a little history of our own here. It's just the final round of the Winter Classic.
Well, 40 cars deep, but the focus is going to be all up front. The 4 drivers that are in immediate championship contention are all right up in the mix, except for it was Matt Walbaum. He'll start 13th, so he'll be a little ways back as we finally get the lights ready to go. 20 minutes for the final race of the season. This might be winner take all in the situation we're in. So whoever wins this race will have a chance to win the championship. Green flag flies, and we're racing in the GRIDLIFE iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic for the final time this season.
And again, Barnes just lit the wheels up, plummeted through the pack. DJ pops to the outside going into turn 1. But Roberts has him covered. Here's the rest of the field. There you can see Barnes.
Oh, one car.
Way back. Oh,
it's Roberts.
That is Roberts.
He gets shuffled. There's cars making contact behind, and before we lose too much context here, he just lost it all on his own. No contact, just spun out.
Yeah, and I think I saw Pennington have a bit of an off. He gathered it back up again, but
he's up to 3rd. Pennington is so.
No, it wasn't Pennington. It was another car then.
Sharing the livery. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa! Christopher Roberts gets forced off and takes the 20 with him, and Stacy is going to slam into the barriers.
That was a big hit. That was a big hit. He's going to be done for sure. And this is what I'm talking about. This track not particularly wide, and so much of the time, other than the run down Madison Avenue, you're always changing direction. Look at this ride.
Emmett Savage ended up on the other side of the fence. Well, all right then.
All right.
Well, it won't be a victory.
Those are the beautiful villas. You can break into one and climb up and enjoy the race from that seat.
Well, that's unfortunate for Emmett Savage, but that was a little comical, actually.
That was.
Here's Paul Darling on Rob Clark for 4th.
That was sort of like me golfing. I like to see what the approach to the 15th green looks like from the 8th fairway,
Yep.
Darling tucked right in behind Pennington. He's got Clark right there.
Whoa.
And then we go back. Ooh, rim shot by, boy, is he working hard. He understands the mission here. He's got from 13th to 10th.
Got to pass these 3 cars ahead of him pretty quickly. Dana Pasinski is going to be pretty competitive here with him. Oh, he's off track again.
Just keeps it pinned. Realize he can't lift, because he got that stream of cars behind you that you fought so hard to get through. Ooh, there's a little touch, inadvertent.
Pasinski down the inside of Barnes. Yep. This is going to be tight as they come through 1. Luke Tucciarone has great visibility on this. No challenge for the lead just yet, but Corrins is there with Alessandrini.
And Barnes able to hang on. I think there was a little touch there, and I think that just kind of upset Basinski's car just a bit. It allowed Barnes to be able to just ramp that right around the outside. You can see Christoph right behind Anthony Montella with Schneekloth right behind him.
With a snake up the S's here. The snake up the snake. Here's the S's as they sweep on through. Right, left, right, left. All single file for now, but this is the calm before the storm. Well, I guess after the small storm, there's a big storm coming.
Exactly, and I think that part of the storm is Darling is now starting to really ramp up the pressure on Pennington. And you know that Walbaum is going to be doing everything he can here. He's right on the back of Tucciarone.
It's just critical that he gets past this group of cars. He's got pace to run with the leaders, but he just doesn't have the track position to be there. Comes Tucciarone on Pasinski.
Well, this might help him if Tucciarone moves over. Now he tucks back in again, but that would have been a double draft. Oh, and up front here, little nudge right there. Waxman and Clark.
Bang doors once, but they'll carry on. Matt Walbaum on the outside of Tucciarone, and he's got to get past the 39 there and didn't do it. but he's got them all kind of out of alignment there and should be able to get him on the front straight.
Well, part of the issue is when you've got that much pace over the people that you're racing, sometimes, you'd like to lay back just that little bit and get a run. Problem is, you've got people behind you that are trying to do the exact same thing as Darling gets through now on Pennington, picks up that third spot.
Pennington wants back by, will go to driver's right, but should be Darling that will complete that pass. And Corrins is knocking on the door, and DJ Alessandrini does not want to answer that right now. He's got a door full, a mirror full, I should say, of the 42 of Corrins.
And we're talking 3 points difference for DJ and Corrins here. And it's the difference between first and second is 4 points. So this could be huge for the championship either way.
And we have the drop races to factor in as well, which kind of complicates things also. Up the hill, Alessandrini stringing on through at 130 plus, the top of 6th gear. They have built a 1 second advantage over Paul Darling. I just don't think it's going to be enough to completely count that 155 out. He's still close enough to draft back up to them, especially once they start battling.
Yeah, it took him just a little bit longer than he would have wanted to get around Pennington, but now we know that that Paul has some really, really good pace. Although I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with what we're seeing from Pennington here. He's been so close a few times. This time running right there in the top 4, showing he belongs, to the point where they've now opened up almost 4 seconds back to 5th and Clark at this stage.
4-car breakaway at the moment. It's 3 seconds back to Rob Clark and Matt Waldbaum. Boy, if he wants any shot at this championship, he has got to get going. He's running decent enough laps, but just trapped behind too many cars that are running capable lap times. It's not like they're slow, Greg. They're running their race and they're running a good pace, but that's making it very challenging for Matt to move forward. And
it's going to be interesting here. Yeah, you're right. Now that he's cleared and got around on Tucciarone, he's got about a second to make up on Basinski, and to see how quick he's going to be able to do it as Corrins again looks to the outside. I think what he's trying to do is have DJ just commit to too much speed going in tight into one, and DJ's not. Whoa, there's a touch and a nice save by the 93 of Anthony Montello.
We were 3 wide there for a minute. That doesn't usually work at VIR.
Boy, and Tucciarone, he is just in the middle of everything right now. Walbaughn's been attacking on him. Davis is there.
We'll get it sorted for now. Basinski now stands in the way of Matt Waldbaum. Now these are both ASM drivers, Andy Smedegard Motorsports drivers in real life. Dana runs in Time Attack, Waldbaum in GLTC. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of courtesy from Dana to let Matt by, but I think the boat has already missed here, Greg. I mean, he's got to do so much to get to those leaders. It's almost game over.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge bar. You can see the way up the road there, and I mean, it would be miraculous if he could do it. But you never give up. I mean, as somebody passing for the lead, they touch, they get spread across the track. Other guys pile into or go off to avoid, and suddenly you could be there. So you're never going to stop trying. But he's got to pick these paces up a little bit quicker here. Look at this, Corrins, big draft, but just not quite in position. Needed to get alongside a little sooner than that, Kyle.
And Alessandrini, I know, he has practiced this VIR ending 100,000 times like he has at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. He's just practiced that in so many different cars here in iRacing that it is a set approach to how he does the final couple corners at these 2 tracks. He has been in all the different scenarios, so I'm very confident that DJ knows exactly where to place his car every single time they get to roller coaster. But does Matt Corrins have anything that DJ hasn't seen yet? That could be true, and we now have 4 cars battling for the lead.
Well, we sure do, and that gives you the idea of the pace of Darling, that he closed up without any draft help for a little bit, and he pulled Pennington right along with him. One thing I'm going to be watching for as we go back and watch this great battle with Clark, Waxman, Barnes, et al., is if Corrins, he continues as DJ sort of drives mid-track, going down into the horseshoe, and Corrins goes way to the outside. If he makes that move to the outside once, and you can see DJ kind of ease over to set up into the horseshoe, if he then just slices right and knifes down to the inside.
Oh, Basinski's going to try to go side by side. No, he thought better of it. Look at them nose to tail up the hill here at the S's.
And And when now that you're up in this pack, guess what? Wellbaum's got no place to go.
Ryan Kristoff has caught this group as well, and he's going to go for a slide. Wellbaum trying to go around the outside. One car off. It's Barnes off in the weeds there.
I got to tell you, I think these iRacing cars have a bit more traction on the grass than an actual car on this track. I've never seen anybody recover that quickly. Look at this.
Oh, boy.
Oh, DJ's got the right hand, the position here. He's got to keep it tight. And he did, just tight enough that Corrins couldn't really find a usable gap.
Darling is hunting these two right now. 10 minutes to go.
Well, I think that's why Corrins is now getting a little concerned, is that I think he realizes that Darling's got some serious pace, and he would rather now get in front, see if he can drive away. No, he made his move early.
Oh,
there it is.
Look out. Swings to the left. Wow, that was tight.
I was wondering if he was going to try and now if he could pin DJ, and he can't.
Throttle down early. Man, that was he was going to basically drive into the pit out and hope that DJ would give him the lane, but DJ knew better than to give him that spot. Bad habit to let somebody do that to you, Greg. You just got to hold your line. That is racetrack for a moment, not for enough.
Exactly, not for long. And the only issue is that he may now have showed his hand with still a lot of time left in this race.
Pennington, the wild card, sits in fourth still. He's been too quiet back here, Greg. I think he's got pace to compete.
I think so too. I'm really impressed with what Eric's doing today. Boy, he is absolutely not having any fear of taking an edge to edge here, using every bit of entry and exit curb.
This is the critical corner again. I mean, I think roller coaster is sort of a defined passing opportunity here, but if Corrins can find a place that he's better than DJ and force it anywhere else, then it's kind of up in the air as to how that pass can be accomplished. But it's almost too cookie cutter to get it done in roller coaster. That's something DJ can plan and defend for. And up the backstretch, look at Corrins popping out of line, back into line. Down towards the front straightaway, lap 6 of approximately 11, 8 minutes to go, and 1/10 between Corrins and Alessandrini. Look at this, look at the run he's got. Here he comes.
And again, he makes this pop move here. DJ this time not going to give him any room to the inside. So Corrins going to try and float up. He might be able to make it work this time. He's got that nose. He's got some pretty good overlap.
Oh, that's great
he
overlap.
May have done it.
Oh, he's going to have him here.
May have done it.
Now to the left-handers.
Oh, DJ got to fight him all the way around the outside. Can he make this work? They're still there. And...
oh, not quite. No, he's got him.
No,
wow.
No, wow, that was phenomenal racing.
Was it too soon, though? 7 minutes to go. Put DJ in second. This is like a restrictor plate race in NASCAR. If you make this move too soon, you're going to give the other guy opportunity to get back by you.
Well, I think Corrins at this point might be thinking, now Darling can start working on DJ, and maybe that'll give me an opportunity to make a little bit of a break here. We'll have to see just how that plays out here, but DJ's not going to go quietly.
He is right.
And what I was
there.
saying when I was muted was the best defense to stop a pass from happening on you down into the roller coaster is a great exit out of Oak Tree. And on that last lap, DJ got a really good one. Corrins got a pretty good one there too, but it's awfully close here. And Darling's the guy who might be able to benefit. If DJ pops, Darling will get a double draft here.
Here we go.
There it is. Look at Darling close up.
So Corrins chose drivers left, and that gave the position back. And I almost wonder if that was intentional, testing the waters here, because the left side leaves you extremely vulnerable, almost too vulnerable, to the point where I think that he did that to get back in line behind Alessandrini.
That might very well be the case, because he went in, and then you can see he definitely overslowed a little bit.
6 minutes to go. The laps begin to wind down. Here comes Corrence back around to the outside. I think he's just creating a lot of volatility up in this front group. He's not going to sit in line and play the game.
Right.
You know, remember these two had battles going all the way back to round 2 at Watkins Glen. They were leaning on each other, so this could get very spicy in the final couple minutes.
And I think Corrence, again, had the opportunity there to work that outside, make it stick, and he tucked right back in behind DJ. But as I'm watching this, all of that, Corrence is getting a monster run down through Hogpen, and he's trying to make do with it. The problem is that Darling is right there, and every time Corrence pops like that and they're running side by side, it just makes sure that Darling and Pennington are right in the mix.
Yeah, I wonder about Paul Darling, actually, because he's just been riding in third here, but I do feel like you need to either let the two leaders crash each other, or you need to be the guy in second, because I don't see how you could get by 2 cars at once here without at least one of them going off track.
I agree with you completely, and I think that's what he's kind of hoping on, is that we get down these last couple of laps that there's going to be just that little bit of contact, or one of them just gets in a little too hot. We have not seen either DJ or Matt being very prone to error, though, have we?
No, certainly not. Matt Waldbaum has spent his whole race working up to 6th, is now behind Rob Clark. He could eke out a top 5 in this, but it's 6 seconds up to the front 4 that are battling now. Look at Darling popping out of line just to make Corrence check the mirrors once or twice.
Really aggressive turn in by DJ there as soon as he knew that Corrence was not going to be close enough for there to be potential contact. DJ just really turned in aggressively. And here's where Corrence just flows monster speed.
Look at, you can see visually how much ground he gains, and this could be critical. Look at that gap. It's just a totally different zip code that these guys are in.
It really is. And, you know, what we just saw there was the flagger. So that's the run from Hogpen. Look at this, Pennington down to the inside of Darling for just a moment. But that's going to be the key, is that run from the exit of Hogpen to that flag stand. And Corrence right there, I think, had enough speed where if he gets that really good run out of Hogpen, he could get alongside.
Oh, there's going to be a touch there, a nudge.
Oh, so close.
These two are driving within inches of their vehicle and somehow haven't completely collided yet. Just a slight nudge, a slight push. Paul Darling is in the mix if these two tangle. And again, I think it's not a terrible strategy. I don't think Paul Darling came in here expecting to win the championship, but he certainly could if these two take each other out, and he's right there to capitalize. I don't feel like forcing his way through and picking up the win over Alessandrini in second or Corrence in second. That won't win him the title. But if he sits back here in third, he either finishes third or the two in front of him crash and he wins. So
exactly. And I think, I think that's his play right now, is just to get up, always be close enough to be in their mirrors and aggravate. And hope he can force them into some sort of an error, preferably one where they maybe just touch each other and knock each other off track a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's key as we step back here to the battle for 7th. That's Basinski, Montello, and Ito Waxman. That's the yellow car. Well, can't leave these guys alone for a minute, can you?
No, it's just so fair. Look at Corrence. He was thinking now of squaring up, trying to get back down. But DJ's doing a brilliant job of a really good defense, exiting right where Corrence is wanting to maybe try and make a move.
So with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left, a lap time of 1:58. This will mean 2 laps to go this time through.
White flag next time by, and there's that run. And that time Corrence didn't even try. He just stayed line astern.
Oh, there's a nudge there.
Oh,
wow.
There sure was. And that time he didn't make that move to the outside, as we're watching Waldbaum, speaking of moves to the outside. Oh, Waxman, he went down to the inside of Basinski, realized it wasn't probably going to happen, locked up, tried to avoid him, just touched him.
Lots of elbows out right now. The final laps of the season. You're not going to have to face him again next week, so if you got a beef to settle it now, I guess.
Waldbaum still, he's technically in front of Clark. But he has it now, he finally makes it fully stick. So that's good for 5th.
That was a frantic sector. Meanwhile, up front, it's been frantic the whole day.
It really has.
Corrence, this is going to be very calculated. This is just a chess match at 130 right now, and you got to think 3 moves ahead.
Yep, and look at the exits here. They both got really nice exits.
DJ got a little bit better, but that's all going to get negated by the draft.
You bet. And one of the things you really have to guard against going into Oak Tree in a battle like this is you're better to go in a little slow. Make sure you're fast out. Corrence pops about 2/3 of the way down Madison Avenue on the outside, heading into 14. He's got the inside for that section. Now into 14A, it's DJ, but look at Corrence, sticks it around the outside, and he's through.
Wow, that was a power move around the outside of roller coaster. I didn't think that was where he was going to do it, but Alessandrini is right there, coming back to the white flag. One more lap at Virginia International Raceway, one more lap in this season for the title. It's going to be winner take all here. Corrence and Alessandrini side by side for the lead.
Now, what do you think? Do you think that DJ is going to actually go for the lead here, or do you think he now wants to maybe be second coming out of Oak Tree?
I don't think you can count on that move working. I think too many people know how that works. But look at Darling into the mix now for second.
DJ wobbled a little bit there. That cost him, not able to make any move on Corrence and almost let Darling through. Corrence a little offline though. The exit of turn 3 gathered it up.
Wow, they are just rubbing bumpers nose to tail. There's not enough room to leave space. That's what they're going to say later.
Exactly. And DJ, I'm sure he doesn't feel too bad about nothing hard, but just giving him that little bit of a nudge. As Corrence certainly gave him the old nudge a couple of times too to let him know he's there. Oh, this is about as big a margin as we've seen.
Oh, I think that could be DJ leaving some room to use that draft on the back straight, but here he closes again.
I think you're right. All right, now, here it is. Patient going in. Don't overshoot. Rotated. Get the power. Go.
Good launch by Corrence, but I don't think it's going to be enough to drive away from Alessandrini.
I agree.
But that 42 does look slippery, but here comes that draft now. Here comes the 61. Going to be a drag race to roller coaster on the final lap. Here they come.
Up and over the rise where it gets back up to one of the higher points in the track, and now heads in. DJ's got the nose ahead. Corrence really deep on the brakes going in, Kyle. He's got it there. DJ's going to square. Corrence overshot it.
Side by side, banging doors down the hill.
DJ sideways for a second. Saves it.
Final corners into Hogpen. Alessandrini noses ahead. Corrence going to try to do the over-under. Here comes Darling up the inside. Coming back to the stripe. Going to be a drag race to the checkers. Darling with a run. Nose to tail. DJ Alessandrini in a late race pass is going to drag race Darling at the line. Alessandrini grabs it by 50 thousandths of a second.
Holy cow. What a last half a lap. Well, what a race, but what a last half a lap.
Holy
and I think
cow.
the thing, I'd like to go back and watch that last corner again because I think Corrence maybe had the run. DJ went a little wide, but what really parked Corrence was that blue car of Darling. Watch it here. DJ's really hot there. And Corrence, I think, was going to turn down underneath and go, and Darling filled that lane, and Corrence had to lift.
Ooh, Pennington went for a ride in the background. Look at this. If Darling had another 100 feet, he might have been in the mix.
Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah, and Pennington, what a way to finish it.
Man, this is just over, under, side by side, leaning on each other, and then they hit the downhill section one more time. Super clean here. Just a little bit of a turn in there by Corrence.
That's what it was.
Yep.
And I don't think they touched. I think as DJ squared to turn in, Corrence had to give him a little bit more room, or thought he had to give him more room than he actually had to. Right there, you see that little move?
Yeah, pretty tricky to get that on. We'll have to go up high again.
Yeah, right here. Because Corrence opened the wheel right there, and that just, see the back end slide?
Yeah.
And there came Darling.
Well, let's ride on board with Paul Darling for this final sequence and get his on board because he had quite the view out the windshield.
He's trying to decide which partner I'm going to pick. And then he's right there. You can see Corrence a little squirrely.
Oh.
He overshoots there. DJ squares up beautifully. Then DJ gets a little squirrely. And right here, watch Corrence. Right there.
Yeah, if you go back and watch this again as Darling goes into roller coaster, I think right here, he blows the entry just like these two, and if he didn't do that, Greg, what could have been? He could have snuck down the inside and grabbed it, but he also overdrove the entry and had Pennington to his inside so he couldn't arc it in later, and Pennington saw everything.
And I want to see Pennington's ride here as he comes through the bottom.
Might try to sneak. Oh, he's trying to sneak back through Corrins.
That's what it is.
Whoop. Almost hit the barrier. Oh, he did.
Woo!
He did catch it just a little.
He did, yep.
Wow.
What a way to finish this championship.
I'll say. Let's have a look at our race results here and go on through. This is just the race results. We're going to try to get points sorted for you here in just a moment, but Greg, take me through the results.
DJ Alessandrini getting the win after an absolute throw-down battle with 4 cars up at the front end by 7 1/1000ths of a second. Corrins, point leader coming in, ends up 3rd. Pennington, best finish of the year. Beautiful drive up into 4th. Matt Waldbaum, a little bit too late, but a great fight back up into the top 5. Then Clark in 6th. Anthony Montello in 7th. Waxman in 8th spot. Jonathan Davis in 9th. And Dana Baczynski in the 10th spot. Doing a nice job here. Then Michael Montello in 11th. Brent Schneekloff 12th. Christoph in 13th. Ryan Finch 14th. Shreyas Venkataraju in 15th. Luke Tucciarone in 16th. Luke, I've said your name about 4 different ways. I hope one of them was right. 17th, Alexander Arteat. 18th, Curtis James. 9th, Ryan Engel. And in 20th, Matt Mogensen.
Wow, that was a fun one. Let's look through the rest of the field here as well. Frida Rodriguez 21st, Josh Rodig 23rd. Where did our friend Michael Hersden finish? Looks like a 30th place run for Michael tonight. 31st place, rather.
33, yep.
And it looks like I just got the race results, so I'm going to actually input this in the point system right now, Greg. We're going to multitask, and we're going to pull up the official winner of the season.
Sounds good.
But, man, what a race, what a battle at the end. That's what you hope for, right? I mean, you get down to the very end of the race, you just hope for clean, fair racing, and I think that's what that was there at the end.
It was hard-nosed, aggressive, the little touch here and there, but there were no real, at that sharp end of things, there were no heavy-duty contact. There was a lot of respect. I mean, how many times in this race did we see 2 guys going for the championship, Corrins and DJ Alessandrini, go through 3-4 corners side by side, and if they touched, it was just a very light tap. A lot of the time, it wasn't even there. And I go back to, I made the comment earlier, we saw at one point, DJ gave Corrins a lot of room, plenty of room, just in case Corrins came in, and Corrins returned that favor later on. And you race somebody clean, they remember it. You race somebody dirty, they remember that too. And what we saw out there with these guys up front was an awful lot of respect. And throw Darling and the rest of the Pennington into the mix. They did just a nice job as well. Things got a little bit more fraught, a little bit farther in the back. I'm sure Mr. Waldbaum would agree with that. But that's part of the beast when you have yourself an issue and you're back in the pack a little bit. Everybody's going for it here, and it can just get a little bit tough. But, we couldn't have had the stage set better coming in with 4 guys in with a shout at the championship, and 3 of those 4 right up in the sharp end of things and putting on a drive like these 2 did in particular. And Darling, mega impressive as well.
So, Greg, if you refresh your points page, and everyone at home can find the results on Sim Racer Hub, I'm actually going to post them in the YouTube chat as well. There are your points results. The 2022 champion with his last lap pass and repass, DJ Alessandrini, will snag the victory by 4 points over Matt Corrins, who will come home in 2nd overall. Then Paul Darling grabs 3rd away from Matt Waldbaum, who drops 2 spots. Then Chris Roberts rounds out the rest of your top 5. So Alessandrini, after all that, will also get to come home victorious in the championship.
Wow. And I mean, as the old saying goes, either of these guys up front, and Darling as well, whoever won the championship, they earned it. I mean, they had great seasons, always seemed to be right up front. None of them had horrible finishes, with the exception of DJ. But then DJ went on an absolute run here after that first misstep. The next 7 races, he was never worse than 5th, and he was only 5th once. And, that's how you just keep accruing those points.
And again, there was 2 drop rounds, so 6 of the 8 rounds counted. We've got Paul Darling here now, who finished 2nd by 70 thousandths of a second, and will come home 3rd in the championship, 6 back from the leaders after the points have been retabulated and the drop races accounted for. Paul, tonight, maybe not quite what you were hoping for in a number of ways, but at season's end, that was a pretty phenomenal set of races for you, and a pretty exciting finish out the cockpit window there.
Yeah, the last 2 races were an absolute nightmare. With as soon as you qualify bad and get backed up in the pack, it's extremely hard to get back to the front pack. So just a bad qualifying the last 2 races. I knew I was essentially out of the points, barring a massive incident for, I think it was needed to be Matt, DJ, and Mac all had to wreck out, and so Mac got waylaid, and then it was between DJ and Mac, and unless they took each other out, I knew I didn't have a shot. But it was a really exciting race there.
Well, and I'll tell you, Paul, I mean, you did, as you obviously had done the math as you were talking about, you did exactly what I think you needed to do, was be relentless in Matt and in DJ's mirrors, always there, and hopefully try and force them to just overstep it going in somewhere, maybe have that little bit of contact and be able to get through. I mean, was that kind of your mindset there?
Yeah, I think that was the mindset going in. Even if I won, I don't think if DJ or Mac had finished 2nd, I'm pretty sure they would have won. So I knew going in it had to be either win and they finished 3rd or below, or sorry. But
no problem.
Yeah, it was an exciting race at the end. I just wish they had taken each other out, but
Hey, Al, and we understand that you were going for a championship, and you were there in an opportune move in that last corner when those 2 guys. I mean, what a run down through the roller coaster that last time. You had a great seat for it, and then you had an opportunity to duck underneath Corrence and pick up 2nd.
Yeah, I had to pinch just a little bit too much to get under Mac. I barely cleared him, and then that just chopped my run just enough that I couldn't get DJ at the line. But that was certainly an exciting one, hopefully to watch too.
Yeah, it was. It was sure fun to call, and congratulations on a great season, Paul.
Thank you very much, and congrats to DJ on the championship.
All right, Paul Darling finishes 2nd in the race, 3rd in the championship. Thanks, Paul. Going to move on now to our 2nd place championship finisher. That was going to be Matt Corrence. He was 3rd in the race, but 2nd in the championship, 4 points behind DJ Alessandrini after the drop races. Mac, wow, that was an exciting race. A lot of chess matching happening there going into those final couple turns. A lot of aggression, but elbows out there at the end. Great battle coming to the checkers. Take us through your perspective out the windshield, and what more could you have done to grab not only the win, but the championship?
Sent DJ for a ride, but I don't drive like that, and he doesn't either. So no, I did all I could. It's kind of plain to see the Audi's pretty quick in a straight line and off the hop, but the Honda is pretty decent over race pace. I kind of got around DJ about halfway around. I think if we would have had an extra lap, I would have had something for him. It got cut short for whatever reason, but oh well. Yeah, it wasn't for lack of trying. Just been trying to kind of pound away. It was exciting, I'll say that much. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun race. I guess you can't ask for much more than that.
Well, and it certainly looked like you were carrying huge speed down through Hogpen, the last corner onto the front straight. And you gave it a go a couple of times, and then you had that one moment. I had asked if you were thinking of selling him the dummy, going to the outside and then knifing to the inside. And you did that, but then it looked like maybe you decided, no, I want to be second here. Did you decide second was the place to be for a while?
I did when I saw Paul coming, and then DJ just confirmed it to me, and I had a feeling he was trying to back me up into Paul. Total fair play. I would do the same thing. So as soon as he did that, I started being more aggressive. I was kind of surprised he gave it to me around the outside. But I wasn't letting that go. I defended wrong going down that same lap, and he got back by me. But then I kind of had his number into, I think I got around him again out of 1, if I remember correctly. Or no, out of off the backstretch. Yeah, I just needed to win the race. As soon as Chris went off, I was like, well, that sucks because he had tons of pace. If he was to win, all I need to do is kind of be around DJ and I'll be all right. As soon as he went off in turn 1, I was like, okay, now I got to win the race.
Well, you drove an absolutely brilliant race, and I just want to say, one of the things, twice in this race, you guys went through series of corners side by side, and if there was a touch, it was just a graze. Just great respect between you two guys, and I'm glad to hear you say that you don't race that way, and neither does DJ, and you showed it.
Well, that was the plan. Would have liked to be, well, I guess it was 2 spots ahead in the end. That's just how it goes, I guess. I'm happy with how I drove for the season, happy how I drove in that race. Honda's a fun car. Yeah, I guess I just have to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, putting together the series. It continues to be one of the best, if not the best, that I've seen. Shout out to Henley Honda, who's on the car, as well as my teammate Emmett. And then, all the front runners, Paul, DJ, Tom and Austin when they came out. Chris did an excellent job, and Matt's really come a long way too. I remember a couple seasons ago he was kind of thereabouts. Now he's kind of consistently in the front. I know he didn't have a good run this time, but he's fast, and he kind of kept us all honest. Yeah, it was fun. I can't ask for much more, really.
No, you put on one hell of a show, and I agree with you. I think Kyle has put together an absolutely fabulous iRacing championship here.
Well, it's also a lot of work behind the scenes from DJ Alessandrini, too, who we're going to talk to next. So, Mac, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time. Move on now to DJ Alessandrini, who is one of the guys that put in all the work behind the scenes to help build this championship. He built it, and he won it in the final lap, passing back and forth. Elbows out, DJ. You came out of turn number 17 in a drag race back to the line. Darling 70 thousandths behind you, but as soon as you got back by the 42, it was that was lights out and away we go for Alessandrini to pick up his next GridLife iRacer championship. This one wasn't likely, DJ. It took a while to get yourself revved up in these cars, but it seems like you've really come into your own, and you'll walk away with a championship as well.
Yeah, that last race was wild. Awesome racing from Paul and Mac, and crazy pace from Chris. It's a shame that apparently he has a dial on his steering wheel for his ABS settings, and it was set to 0 going into the first turn. So that's what happened to Chris. I don't know how it would have worked out points-wise if it was like a second place me, third place Mac, but the whole first half of that race I was backing Mac up just because I wasn't entirely sure. I had all this memorized, but then I got the flu, so I'm feeling under the weather right now, so my memory doesn't do memory things. So I couldn't quite remember where I needed to place above Mac in order to beat him, so I was just like, well, I'll just back him up until Paul gets here. And then I think at some point Mac realized what was happening. He started attacking, and then, yeah, it was just gloves off from there.
Well, that was a great strategy, and Mac, as I think you heard, said I would have done the same thing. Fair play to him. That's just part of the racing game. And I want to say it again. What just really impressed me here was, not just your guys' pace and racecraft, but the fact that multiple times during the race, you guys raced side by side through multiple corners, and most of the time without touching. And if there was a touch, it was nothing egregious. It just seemed like there's a lot of respect between you two.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of respect between at least the front runners, because it's a lead by example thing. You race people the way you want to be raced, and we've all raced with each other so much that you remember the time that he raced you super clean, so you return the favor. You don't want to be the one that starts a war that kills the front pack camaraderie. So yeah, you show the respect that you're given, and you give respect, hopefully, to be shown it in the future. And I think that's the culture that we've built here, and it just continues on, and it just makes the racing just really, really fun. And it transfers over into real life when we're racing in GLTC. It's the same mutual respect between everyone.
Well, I tell you, we couldn't have had a more exciting championship coming in here with, the top 4 covered by 11 points. I don't think we could have had a more exciting finale. You guys put on a barnstormer of a show. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, that was, I'm sweating.
well, that could be the fever from the flu, but I'm sure.
Yeah, it might be.
All worth it, DJ.
Well
Hey,
done.
thanks again, DJ, for all the work that you do behind the scenes. DJ is actually the one that runs most of the sessions, so he's put in the effort to make this all worth it. So thanks, DJ. Congratulations. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. It's rewarding work seeing everybody have a bunch of fun.
All right. Well, have a great night. Enjoy it, and hopefully you'll feel better sooner than later.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, Greg, with that, that's going to wrap up the GridLife iRacers Winter Touring Car Classic. And this was 8 rounds. This was longer than we've ever done before in the GridLife iRacers series. And I think that we might do a series of this length again in the future because it seemed like drivers loved it. The cars were very competitive, and everyone seemed like they had a great time. Typically, we do 3 or 4 rounds. 8 was a departure from the norm, and I think it turned out great, Greg. But it was such a privilege to sit alongside you here in the virtual booth and call some of the most entertaining sim racing in the world, I think.
Well, it was certainly a great experience for me. I've done very little of this, and to step in, and as you heard, all of these drivers saying that they think this is one of the best, if not the best, of these championships. To be involved with it has been an absolute delight. I had a great time. I always do working with you, Kyle, and this introduction to calling sim racing has really been a treat, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to do it. It was a blast.
It certainly made the whole thing feel that much more real. When you're racing in a sim racing environment, often you can have that disconnect from reality, but not when you've got a legendary voice like Greg Kramer behind the scenes calling it as well. So big thanks again to Greg for coming on board for this one. Hopefully we'll have you back, and we are planning on having you back also in the real world live streams this year as well. So everyone stay tuned for those. Our next real live stream will be in the first weekend in June for GridLife's Midwest Festival at Gingerman Raceway in South Haven, Michigan. That'll be our next live stream there. We're actually at Atlanta Motorsport Park this weekend for the next round of our championship. We'll see everybody there who's coming. And again, a big thanks to all the participants and all the people watching and being a part of the viewership for this series. Big thanks again to BC Racing, Custom Coilovers, and Recaro for offering prizes and supporting GridLife and GridLife iRacers. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time here at GridLife.